talk about really. But before I do that, I guess the first question is why a talk? And the second question is why me? Grayson's probably sort of answered the second one. But when you see a team be very dominant and very successful like Legion 13 has, and Grayson and I are involved in the jiu-jitsu competitions, and I see the guys compete and I see the results, and really you guys have been steamrolling everybody else. You might think there's no need for a talk or a pep talk or a necessity to readjust our direction, but there's an old samurai saying that says that after the battle, that's when I tighten the straps on my helmet. I'm most vulnerable after I've had victory. And when you are at the top, there is only one place to go, and that's downwards. Okay, so if you want to resist gravity, you need to do things to readjust where you're going and make sure that you keep on the right track. And I guess to add why me, I'm no smarter than anybody else, but I have been in the martial arts longer than I think the guys in this room anyway. And even before that, in 1972, I started a training regime under a very strict swimming coach. I made national finals in the Opens in surf life saving and swimming. But he was a real stickler, above all else, for the discipline. And since I started with him in 72, and he retired in 1980, and I started martial arts, I've kept up the disciplines that he instilled in me of exercising twice a day, every day, except Sunday. I've really kept to that. And as time's gone on, I've seen the benefits of it against other guys that are 51 years of age. A lot of them really shot to bits. They've lost that enthusiasm, that spark for life, and that real energy that you want to have, and that attracts people to you, that makes you fun to be around, and makes you go out and learn and be excited about new things. They get stuck in a rut and they just want to do the same thing over and over again. And having the benefit of being in the martial arts for 32 years, you get to see a lot of things, and when you see something happening, there might be 2 or 3 similar things that you can compare it to. And you might say, I think that's a really positive thing. Or you might go, I don't think that's going to end too well. Okay, if those guys keep doing those things. So I guess the 4 things I wanted to talk about was something that Hilson Gracie was really passionate about when I trained with him in Hawaii in 2004. His big thing was that what you learn is important, but how it's passed along is equally as important. There's a lot of people out there with great techniques, and there's a lot of guys out there that are good fighters. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're also a good martial artist. And as a person that promotes events for a living, fight nights and jiu-jitsu competitions, I make sure I deal with the martial artists. They may also be a good fighter. But if they're a martial artist, it means that they're a person that you can deal with. That a person has some importance on honesty and integrity. So what you learn is important. How you learn it, how it's passed along is equally as important. And certainly for the senior ranks, and particularly jiu-jitsu more than other martial arts, just because you're wearing a coloured belt doesn't mean you haven't been training long and hard. Some systems fall asleep in the dojo and you wake up in a black belt. That doesn't happen in jiu-jitsu. I know it doesn't happen down here, but the guys are around for a long time and they do learn what they've got. And it does give them the chance to mentor somebody. It does give them the chance to judge and referee events because someone judges and referees for you when you're coming through. The little things really are the big things. If you want to be technical in your martial arts, you must pay attention to the little details. If you take care of the pennies, the pounds will take care of themselves. So when you're studying or when you're coaching, make sure you coach the little things. They're the important things that make up all the 1%ers that get you to the top. And if you're on the top, they're the things that keep you on the top. So you might find that you spend more time coaching than participating if you want to keep your team on the top. Okay? The next thing that I wanted to talk about was something I learnt in another job I had for a time as a firearms trainer. And I can tell you as a firearms trainer that for every 1 millimetre I'm off the centre of the target, it doesn't matter over a metre. But over a kilometre, I'll miss by 1 metre. So if I was a kilometre away aiming at Hank, I would shoot and kill Jared. That wouldn't be my intention at all. So being a little bit off course over distance makes a big difference. The same in your life. If you're a little bit off course and you're 20 and no one corrects you, by the time you get to 30 or 40, you'll be way off course. So your martial arts training or having a coach or a mentor might be a way that you can correct yourself. I know that Jared's done quite a lot of door work days gone by, and you think back to those guys that you're working with 10, 15, 20 years ago. Some of them are quite characters, funny guys. Those guys are great guys. 20 years later, they're in jail, they're in mental homes, they're drug addicts, hermits. What happened to that guy? He was just a little bit off course, but he never got corrected. And over time, the results show. So you need to think about your martial arts like that, about your training like that, and try to constantly adjust your attitude. It's okay to make mistakes. We all make mistakes. What do I do when I've identified that mistake? How do I correct it? How do I correct that technique? How do I correct my attitude to make sure that moving forward, I've got things in life to look forward to, that I can improve myself as a martial artist, as a person. And the last thing I want to talk about is really a simple thing. It's the first thing I try and teach people when I'm teaching them a striking class, is that everything must hit together. That if I'm going to strike somebody, my gaze, the step, the weight, the strike, everything must hit at the same time to get maximum results. If I'm teaching wrestling and I want to teach a double leg takedown, everything must hit together. You've got to distract and off-balance your opponent. You've got to shoot in. Your shoulders got to hit the body. Hands have to tap the calves. Otherwise, it's not effective. When you're preparing for competition or preparing for exams at school, everything must hit together. You've got to do the training. You've got to do the nutrition. You've got to do the recovery. And you've got to have a game plan. And you've got to stick with the game plan. Don't change your plan halfway through, unless you're planning to lose. Don't go out and get drunk before you compete. I've never seen anyone do their best work hungover. Okay, it just doesn't make any sense. So if you're competing or grading, make sure that everything hits together. And if you're not sure you've covered everything off, write it down. Certainly when I got ready to compete in 2007, and Grayson very graciously helped me prepare, when I got down to book the flights, I thought I got the weight down, got the game plan down, done the training, and I thought, I haven't got a coin, man. So I rang him up and said, hey, I'm going to buy 2 tickets to Brazil if you'll come, because I want to make sure that everything hits together. That when I get there, I've given myself every chance to win. Otherwise, the rest of it's just a waste of time. And, don't go out and binge before your event. You don't go and get drunk before your event. You don't stop training a week before your event. Make sure that everything hits together. And if you do those things, if you're careful about to learn the correct things and to pass it on the correct way, if you pay attention to the small things, if you keep yourself on course, and if you make sure that everything hits together, you will start to achieve what you want in the martial arts, and you'll achieve what you want outside of martial arts. Competing is important, not for competing, not to win a trophy. It's important to see if you can perform under pressure. It's important to see if you can set goals. It's important to see if you can develop real skills. Because if you can develop real skills in any field, and you can perform under pressure, and you can set goals, you will be successful. And you'll also be happy. And why else are we here? We're not here to be unhappy or unsuccessful. We're here to be successful. So, thank you very much for listening to my little spiel.